Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. We've got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty leagues, PPR leagues, IDP league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What is up? Welcome to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Thursday today here. My name is Tom Dougherty, your host. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. As training camp is in full swing, folks, we are here. It is time. We actually have football tonight. The Hall of Fame game is tonight from Canton, Ohio, the brand new remodeled. Well, I don't know if it's brand new. I think it was last year it was done, but they remodeled it. It's named after Tom Benson, the legendary owner of the New Orleans Saints. New Tom Benson Field now in Canton, as the Hall of Fame ceremony will, I think, take place. Is it today and then the games after? I don't know. I have to look up how they actually have the progression of things from Canton. I know yesterday, actually, another big event in the football world had a lot of dignitaries and luminaries at it, as Dwight Clark had his funeral yesterday. The passing of Dwight Clark was a big, it was a monumental thing that happened this year in the football world, especially being out here in California, being around a lot of Niner fans, and being a Niner fan myself. He was definitely a big part of our history, big part of our team, whether he was on the field, off the field, being part of the front office in the franchise, and just so many people. You saw if you knew I can go through the list of the people who showed up and were part of the ceremony yesterday for his service, his celebration of life. That's what they wanted to call it. It was celebration of life, and that's definitely what they were doing. Dwight had a great life, and you saw Joe Montana there, and Eddie DeBartolo, and Terrell Owens actually even showed. Terrell Owens was there. Roger Goodell was there, which is actually interesting. I heard people saw Roger Goodell was talking to Terrell Owens. I'm like, you think he's going to ask him? Maybe he should show up to the Hall of Fame ceremony. I don't know. Well, T.O.'s having his own thing, and it's going to be at his alma mater, if I can get that out correctly. And then, of course, you'll see the commissioner over in Canton later. Today is the game. I'm assuming, is tomorrow the ceremonies? I mean, I don't think because that would be crazy. They just were in SF. They were just over in San Francisco. Now they're flying all the way back to go to Ohio for the Hall of Fame ceremony. So I'm actually just going to pull it up really quick here to see, so we can actually get the right the induction ceremony. The game is definitely tonight. I know that for sure. That's going to be Bears and Ravens from Canton, as the induction ceremony will be. Let's see. Here's the schedule of events for me right here. Keep going. There we go. So the game is, so the enshrinement ceremony is not until Saturday. That makes sense. All right, we're good. Saturday, that makes sense. Usually we want to do it on a weekend anyways. And then, because we had actually just had a couple different enshrinement ceremonies. With and Major League Baseball Hall of Fame was last Sunday. The NFL, they have a great tradition of doing this before every season, having this Hall of Fame game being like kind of the official start of the season, being the first preseason game of the year. I know Marty Morningweg, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, was really excited to be able to play this game because it's giving them even more opportunity to get a early snapshot on what they're looking at regarding players that are going to contribute this year. So I mean, it was actually cool. I mean, it's interesting hearing that you saw a TO sighting at Dwight Clark's service, and then of course he's going to be having his festivities on Saturday. But he went to Chattanooga, right? I'm thinking he'll be in Tennessee. I'm pretty sure he was in Tennessee, right? I'm pretty sure he went to Chattanooga. So he'll be there for his own little party, separate from the NFL's own festivities up in Ohio. So other people going to get inducted. Brian Urlacher is going to be in this year, or was that last year? Oh, I don't want to mess that one up. It was going to definitely Ray Lewis, Randy Moss. I know that for sure. And I'm trying to think here. Who else are we? I'm pretty sure wasn't it Brian Urlacher was in, or was that last year? He got in. Brian Dawkins, Ray Lewis, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Brian Urlacher. There we go. I was right. And then also we're going to see Robert Brazil and Jerry Kramer as well, making it. That was a linebacker for the Oilers in the 70s and 80s, and then Jerry Kramer was a guard for the Packers and played under Vince Lombardi, which is pretty cool as well. So those are your guys going into the Hall of Fame. They're going to be part of the enshrinement ceremony on Saturday. Sans Terrell Owens, who will be in his own doing his own thing in Tennessee, kind of sticking to the NFL for making him wait to go in. I mean, honestly, if you want, I'll give my commentary on T.O. I'll get to believe me, we'll get to the fantasy stuff pretty soon here, just a second. I just want to give my commentary on T.O. and say, honestly, do you, bro? Do you? You want to go have a little party in Tennessee for your Hall of Fame? Do you? It's your Hall of Fame. You earned it. You were the player. You did all the work. And those writers, he was the best. He's the third best receiver in the history of football. Sorry. He is. Third best receiver. For me, it goes Jerry, Randy, and T.O. And Chris Carter's underneath there as well. So is there around there. So, I mean, 3, 4. You could say whatever you want. You can kind of toss it up. They're all legendary receivers. And yeah, Randy didn't think he had to wait. I mean, did he wait 2 years? He could have been in 2 years ago before he gets in. And of course, the writers are going to stick it to him for what? For doing sit-ups in his front yard, for kind of throwing Donovan McNabb, who honestly was kind of a whiny quarterback anyways. And then he went back and defended his new quarterback when Tony Romo was getting blasted. I know maybe people thought probably was like a little sideshow, but yeah, whatever. He's getting emotional. That's my quarterback. Why are you knocking the guy? He was a great player, legendary player. Made legendary plays. I mean, go watch they called. Like I just talked about Dwight Clark and the catch. They call it the catch. Well, the Niners actually have a couple different catches. That's the biggest one, obviously, Dwight Clark's catch in 1991 against the Cowboys. There's another one against the Green Bay Packers. I think it was 2000. I want to say, or 2001 or 2002. I think I want to say maybe a little earlier. Yeah. Steve Young almost fell over himself, gets back or regains his balance and fires over the middle, and Terrell Owens makes a catch in between probably 3 different Packers there, and they squish him, and he catches the ball, and he ends up wins the game. It's a playoff game, and then obviously the number 3 is the Vernon Post against the Saints. So, yeah, that was interesting, and of course the commonality between the latter 2 catches is that both those guys ended up crying on the sidelines after they made those plays. But they're legendary plays. They're going to be in our history for forever. So yeah, the catch 1, obviously the catch. Then you had the catch 2, and then I guess you can call Vernon's actually is more known by the Vernon Post, not catch 3. I mean, you can say that, but Vernon Post. And I think the best parts of all of those plays are the calls, the TV calls. I can't remember who did the first couple. But the last one, Ted Robinson, what a call on the radio there for Vernon. Then of course, I think at that time it was Eric Davis, I think, was doing the color for the Niners on the radio, and you could hear his voice. He was kind of like, he's got him, he's open, before he even did the play. It was pretty cool. But sorry, but yeah, no, that's just Terrell Owens. I know, of course, he's connected to the Niners, so I have a little bit more nostalgia ridden on it, and definitely happy that he's going to be getting his honor. And I don't know how it's going to be interesting to see on Saturday how they're going to treat it, because obviously he's not going to be there when his bust is going to be unveiled, and somebody is going to take care of it. Obviously, maybe they're going to wait till the end or say, "Hey, T.O.'s not here, but there's your bust, T.O. Like, have fun in Tennessee or whatever you're doing down there." But it is what it is. All right, and so Hall of Fame game tonight: Bears, Ravens, and then Saturday is the enshrinement. Back to fantasy. Okay. You see up on the there, I named the episodes before I record them, because it gives me a little better way to navigate myself through the episodes, even though maybe I'll kind of go on tangents, as you know I do that. Waiver tips. Waiver tips are pretty basic, but they are very, very key. And people think, oh, it's all about the draft. No, the draft is probably about a third of what the draft is about a third of the season. It's it's laying a foundation for you, because your first 3 picks, obviously, first 3 or 4 picks are going to get locked in. You can't cut them. According to what some certain leagues, obviously, I think you can change the rules. You don't have to have a can't cut list if you don't want. But most leagues have a can't cut list, pretty standard for the first 3 or 4 picks you have. So really in that middle point, after the 3-4 picks, you're kind of just like, you have no allegiance to these players. I mean, last year, I'm trying to think of somebody I did it with. Was it Alex Collins or something like that? Last year, I mean, you can really gamble. There's gambles out there with waiver wires, stuff like that. You can have. That's why I like to kind of have a stockpile, a little bit of players that I'm okay with rotating in for my bench, so I don't have to mess around with waivers. But when you have the number 1 waiver wire, if you have the number 1 waiver, because it rotates. So if you're number 1 on the waiver wire, so you get the first selection. So there's nobody who can leapfrog you or steal a player from you. You get the first pick, or maybe even the second one, second selection. So, or whatever second priority. Go use that. Use that and pick up like 3 guys that you could turn over, especially guys who maybe already have their bye week. Bye weeks are big, because bye weeks can kind of put you in a bind where, like, oh, I need a running back or something like that, where I don't want to drop him, or that's why you got to roll the dice, and maybe you drop somebody that can kind of fly under the radar for a week, and then you can pick him back up after the week's over. So I've done that multiple times. And then also, obviously, my favorite thing to do last year, because their offense was pretty dismal. I don't know if it's going to be the worst offense in the league this year. There could definitely be another team that has a worse offense. Maybe the Bills, if they don't put in with AJ McCarron. But Shady McCoy is pretty darn good. I'm trying to think of a team. But, the Browns last year were pretty dismal on offense. So I would and they turned the ball over a lot. So I would just pick up the defense, unless they were just some cruddy defense. But I pick up a defense, assuming they were a decent defense. And if they were playing the Browns, pick them on up. Rotate them out. Rotate the other defense out. So I always have, I think I had Minnesota defense or Chargers defense for the longest time last year, where I just kind of kept them just in case I didn't get a good matchup with the Browns. I'll just start them regardless and just roll the dice there. Or you'll find a team, like, say the Texans are playing. I mean, the Texans defense last year was still pretty good, even though they had the injuries. If you can get the Texans defense and have them play the Browns, or if it's the Steelers in divisional game, or the Ravens, basically any AFC North game, maybe not the Bengals, but so Steelers or Ravens, I'd just pick them up and right in there if they're available. Of course, and then again, if they're not, then you have your other defense to just put in there for that. And then another thing, flex positions are kind of weird. Tight ends are kind of weird. I know this year we're down a valuable tight end that's going to make it more and more of a premium to find somebody, maybe hold on to them, because Hunter Henry tore his ACL already. So, that sucks. But, it is what it is. It's football, and you got to move on. So we have to identify some more guys. And I'm like, I'm a Delaney Walker fan. I'm a Kyle Rudolph fan. I'm not a Jordan Reed fan. He gets hurt too often during the season, of course. But then again, if he does, they still have Vernon Davis on that team, and Vernon is a great and very, very, very worthy backup. So I like Vernon Davis. Watched a lot of him play. Obviously, we just talked about him a few minutes ago with what he's done with the Niners. So he's a good pro. We'll say he's a good pro, and we'll put up some numbers for you if the guy ahead of him goes down with an injury, which I would say, I mean, we don't want to, of course, we don't wish anything, but just going off trends in the last few years, Jordan Reed's had some issues with staying healthy. So it is what it is with him. Obviously, there's the top 2 guys, Gronk and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, I don't know. See, I've been very high on Patrick Mahomes. I kind of watched him a little bit yesterday with they had all access. NFL Network kind of bound. Actually, if you are really wanting to watch win your fantasy league, you have to put the work in. Put the work in. Watch NFL Network. If you are at home or you're home at night, go put on NFL Network. They do great coverage of these training camps, and they give you great outlook for the season. They have all these good Brian, who's a really good guy to listen to, Brian Baldinger. Brian Baldinger does these great breakdowns of he was doing Patrick Mahomes even from last year, from the little the time that he was on the field, I think they were playing the Broncos. He played in a game last year against the Broncos. So he was even breaking down his film from last year and showing the potential he has where he can throw on the run, still have great arm talent and great accuracy. And then also he gives you some things that he needs to work on, things you might want to watch out for. So as a fantasy owner, you can take that for data, basically take that for data, David Fisdale, and go ahead and put it into your calculations. I'm not telling you to draft Patrick Mahomes as your starting quarterback, believe me, but he's going to have a bunch of guys who you do want to draft that he's going to be responsible to getting the ball to. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Conley, even Kareem Hunt out of the backfield. So there's a lot of different options. Sammy Watkins, they just got him, so it's a new weapon. And so it all folds into it. All right, we'll come back after the break and do some more stuff regarding the waiver tips, and we're going to go actually into comparisons. This is the whole second half of the show. We're going to pretty much do comparison stuff where we're going to just comping different players that are going to have the same average draft position and seeing who you can have the most upside from the variables around them. All right, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Thursday today here as we come back and continue our talk on just the waiver wire and how that's really where you're going to make and break your season. Obviously, quarterbacks, we found they're a dime a dozen. Really, the only thing you can really worry about is the top 3 picks. Like I said, top 3, 4 picks, maybe 2 receivers, 2 running backs if you want, unless you stretch and get like a Travis Kelce or a Gronk in the 4th round or something, as their ADP is kind of around that between 3 and 5th round for those guys. And then quarterbacks will start going probably around, well, it depends. That's another thing. You really need to read your room. Know your room. Know who's going to pick who, kind of like idea of when, maybe ask a couple questions if you can try and sneak them under the radar. Nobody will try to think too much. Hey, what do you think about running quarterbacks? Hey, what round do you like drafting quarterbacks? Try and get a gauge, and then obviously once you find out who you're drafting before, who you're in between, basically, because you're going to be drafting after that person and before that person, then also the other person as well because of a snake draft. And that's how it works if you're doing a snake draft. So those 2 guys or girls, you should probably be like, maybe a little trash talking, you'll throw them off their game a little bit when it comes to the draft. But like I said, the draft is only a third of it, and really the first 4 picks. After that, you could turn over your roster in a week. Obviously, you can get value. The draft, there's a reason why you don't just do the first 4 picks and just let everybody go free for all, because you can try and find somebody late in the draft that you end up keeping the whole time and turn into one of your better players in the season. So that'll definitely happen. I mean, I got Gurley. Actually, I keep telling myself I got Gurley in the 3rd round last year. I got Gurley in the 4th round last year. The 4th round, not the 3rd round, not the 2nd round, the 4th round. The 4th round last year, as I'm looking at my draft results from a year ago really quickly here. Gurley was the 4th round. Hopkins was the 3rd round. So that's kind of like, we're doing keeper league, and that's like, because the other, again, waiver, what's better? What's easier to get, a receiver off waivers or a running back off waivers? Well, receiver probably, because then you can really go off of the quarterback, and because it's a keeper league, I'm still gonna have a first, second, and third round pick, so I still can get DeAndre Hopkins whenever. I can get him in the first round this year and have them both again this year, because I'm definitely not drafting a quarterback in the first round like I did last year, even though it was Aaron Rodgers. And there's people out there who think, oh, Aaron Rodgers should be the first pick every year. Well, quarterbacks almost kind of have a cap. It's weird. Quarterbacks, like waiver quarterbacks, are easy too, because you can just find one that is playing a weak defense and hope that they throw the ball a lot, because teams are going to score, but are they going to score on the ground? Are they going to score in the air? That's why quarterbacks are tending, at least in my league, don't really go above. They stay around like the 20 to 35 range. 35 is a good day. The 20 is about average. Your projection is probably around 22, 23 a week, depending on who you're playing, but it's not really going to skew that much higher, especially if you're going to go, even if you're going to go against like the weakest defense in the league. So I mean, it's hard to identify the real weaklings right now, because everybody's like, oh, we're ready to go, we're good to go for the season. Once we get like through the preseason a little bit, at least we'll kind of have an idea of where our weak spots and the weak defenses are around the league, especially. So, kind of have to wait and see on that one. But I was saying with your quarterbacks, I would wait. Wait. So last year, I'll just tell you, last year in my league, I did Aaron Rodgers. I know could be the first. The thing is, Aaron Rodgers is not worth your first pick, because you can pick Alvin Kamara in that position. I mean, I had the, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Is that right? I had the 6th pick last year overall. The 6th pick overall, and then so 6th pick overall, picked Rodgers, and that's the way it was. He got hurt. It didn't matter. I still had literally my last pick, or second to last pick, was Ben Roethlisberger. I think I went through my whole draft last year, then I gave you the whole draft. So if you want to listen to my whole draft last year, I think I said it on the show on Tuesday. So there you go. But Ben Roethlisberger was my second to last pick, and he started more. I had him in the starting quarterback position just as much as I had Aaron Rodgers, because what did Rodgers get hurt? Week 5 or something like that. Week 4, 5 or 6 last year, and then I just basically mixed and matched with Matthew Stafford and Ben Roethlisberger, and it was just fine. No problem. When you have other big stars, Todd Gurley could go off for 45 points, 50 points, especially for PPR. Quarterbacks can't catch the ball. That's why, especially in PPR, non-PPR gets a little bit more. It gets very much more muddled, because it's not a big deal. You're not going to get as much premiums with guys who can actually catch the ball. Quarterbacks throw the ball. They don't get a point for completions. I think we did that one time when I was way back when we didn't know what the heck we were doing years ago. I think we did PPC, points per completion. And I think we did two quarterbacks. So these games were like 300 points. It was pretty crazy. Like a good day was like 270, basically to skew everything up 100 points. Like a good day is like 170, 160 is a good day, or at least like maybe a great day, depending on what kind of league you're in, scoring wise. We would be up to like 200 points just to get a win. You're like, oh, I need 200 to get a win at least. And so because PPC, that was crazy. You think the guy that year? Oh yeah. By the way, the guy that year who won, we had a snake draft. And for some reason, we didn't realize we were doing PPC until after the draft was over. We were like probably juniors or sophomores in high school. And he picked Peyton Manning and Tom Brady back to back. And he won the league because he just you couldn't beat him, because those guys throw the ball a lot and they're going to get completions. So we don't do that anymore. But that was pretty funny. But no, now PPR, for PPR leagues, quarterbacks are kind of a dime a dozen. They really are. You're not going to get much separation from Aaron Rodgers to Ryan. No, I'm trying to think. Aaron Rodgers to Matt Ryan to Drew Brees to Tom Brady to maybe Deshaun Watson or Ben Roethlisberger or Matt Stafford or Russell Wilson. You're not, because maybe Russ, because he can run a little bit more, but you're not, because you're going to get the way you're going to find your differential and how you're going to win games is getting the PPR points with your running backs. It's really going to come down to it. Look at the games. Look at the final last year of my fantasy league. It's perfect microcosm of how running backs can just kill it for you. Kill it in a good way. That is. So look at the final from last year, week 17. I won by like 70 points. Just FYI. Trying to think here. So yeah, quarterbacks exactly. We scored the exact same points. DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, he beat me. I beat him on the receivers. Other two receivers, exactly the same. Here was the big disparity. Todd Gurley in the championship week scored 55 points. Who did his running back? Yeah, he scored 7. I'm telling you, that's where you're going to find your disparity. He had Tom Brady. I had Ben Roethlisberger. They're going to chalk. It's going to evens out. Des Bryant, DeAndre Hopkins, Keelan Cole, Mike Evans, they were the same. Literally 16.7 points, 16.8 points that week. But this disparity, everything else. Alex Collins beat Kenyon Drake by a little bit. Jack Doyle, he actually beat me in the flex position. And then we tied at defense. I beat him by 3 points as a kicker. But the biggest one was I beat him by 48 points in that one running back category, the number one running back category. There's your game right there. You could add all the other ones up, little minor ones, but that's where you're going to find your best separation. You get the pass catching running backs, especially for PPR. I can't preach it enough. Pass catching running backs, PPR. That's how you win. Not only do they get a premium, it's just a math equation. It's really a math equation. They get a point every time they catch the ball. So Todd Gurley averaged 7-8 catches a game last year. That's 7 points, 7.5 points, automatic. Boom. Just put 7.5 points on his score sheet. There you go. Now, running backs also have a premium when they run the ball because they're running the ball, and how usually it is scored in fantasy, you have 10 points, a point per 10 yards, 10 yards a point for running the ball. That's why running quarterbacks have a little bit more of a premium on. That's why you probably bump Deshaun Watson up a little bit because he has a great ceiling with the running the ball and also throwing it deep, which you get bonus points out of. And then Russell Wilson also, same difference. He likes to air it out, and he also runs the ball a lot too. So there you go. You get your premium. So 10 points, 10 yards per point. And the same thing. Todd Gurley last year, he runs for 200 yards. That's 20 points right there. Boom. 20 points. How many times did he run for 200 yards in a game? Probably a handful last year. I mean, that championship game, in the game last year when he had 55, against Tennessee, he ran for, once again to pull up my stats for it, 118 rushing yards, 10 receptions, so there's 10 points right there. He did have 2 touchdowns and a 40-yard touchdown receiving. So he had 2 receiving touchdowns, and one of them was 118 yards, that's 11.8 points right there. 10 catches, that's 10 more points. 158 receiving yards, that's you have to divide it by 25. So that's only like 5 points. That's only like 6 points, 6 points, 6 point something, and then the touchdowns and the bonus because he had a bonus point. So yeah, 10 catches, pass catching running backs for PPR. For non-PPR, you want guys that are going to, you want to draft guys that are on teams that are going to run the ball in the short yardage scenario on the goal line. That's how you're going to do it. That and try and get some receivers to take the top off the defense. Like a Brandon Cooks would be great, or obviously any big receiver obviously Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, anything, all those, any AB, any of those would be great. But down the line a little bit farther, if you're not doing PPR, number one, I'm sorry because it's not as fun when it's not PPR. It is. I just think it's more fun with PPR. But people could be like, "Oh, just putting too much premium, just putting too much on the receivers and running backs." Then yeah, maybe you want to try and maybe figure out a quarterback you're gonna like more. Maybe go for more of a running quarterback because you're gonna get more points that way. So that's kind of how it works, and you really should mix and match. And like I said, waiver tips. If you take advantage of being top of the waiver wire, don't waste it. Every single week, if you look at the order of the priority order on the waiver wire, look at it. If you were number one, even if you don't think you need to make that many moves, if you're number one, go just take a peek. Go look at it. Go look at it. It might not be the hottest guy, it might not be the best guy. Look at the matchups. Look who they're playing. Look at who you think he's going to be guarding him. Look at the defense to their team, and then make your decision. Because you're only going to get the number one priority or number two priority once or three, probably 3 times rotates, like probably 3 or 4 times a year. So. And if there's one guy out there you've been waiting on getting, that's when your chance to get him, because nobody's going to steal him from you. Nobody's going to steal him. The worst thing is submitting your waiver request on like a Monday. It doesn't go through till Wednesday. You come back on Wednesday to see if you got it, and you didn't get it, and your buddy got it. Your buddy got the player, and you're like, oh, come on, really? And then he scores 3 touchdowns that week. Oh, too bad. It is what it is. But that's why you prevent it. And when you don't have the highest priority, then you can try to make some sleepy moves. Go find a guy that you think is going to go off, or some backup. That's the one thing. That's the one thing about waiver wires. If somebody goes down, if a number one running back goes down, teams don't just change their offensive schemes. They have good backups for a reason. If Lamar Miller goes down, you better pick up Donta Foreman. Because they're going to, pick up Donta Foreman anyways, or draft him, because I think he's going to end up becoming the number one running back for the Texans this year. Just an example. I'm trying to think of other guys who's Kendrick West, Spencer Ware are both guys that are probably going to get touches this year because of injury. Just thinking about it here, because a lot of teams now aren't going to. We're kind of going away. We're going to cut it in a minute here, but we're going to come back after the break. I'm going to bring up this kind of topic about running backs in just a moment. So everybody, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA Podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back, GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Tom Dougherty. That's me. As I was saying at the end of the last segment, teams are kind of going away from this whole like bell cow, number one running back, and then having a backup, just a straight up backup. Now it's like 2 running backs on the field at the same time, 2 running backs on different downs. It's been like that for a little bit, but it's becoming even more popular where you're going to have one guy be the pass catcher and one guy be the runner, and then you can also switch it up a little bit. You want to keep the defense on the toes. You're like, okay, he's on the field, we're going to run. Okay, he's on the field, we're going to throw it to him. No, obviously there's a million different things you can do with those kind of players as well. There's even teams like the Chiefs that have Tyreek Hill, could run the ball out of the backfield. The Niners have Marquise Goodwin they could do jet sweeps. Most teams have a smaller receiver or a fast guy who could do the same kind of thing like that too. But now we're getting to a point where we had a Super Bowl winning team last year with 3 running backs. It was actually really interesting. They had LeGarrette Blount. He was your short yardage guy. Almost kind of like a fullback, but now fullbacks don't really exist anymore. But you have a guy like LeGarrette Blount who still has the speed and power to get through short yardage situations, goal line situations. Then you had Corey Clement, who was a great pass catcher, great route runner out of the backfield. A lot of mismatches. It's all about mismatches now. So that's kind of why we're going that way, where I know we have these really athletic linebackers, and teams are trying to counteract these athletic linebackers with even more athletic and quick running backs to try and match them up against, because they're getting beat down. These Jordan Howards and the Derrick Henrys and the LeGarrette Blounts of the world. kind of get locked up and they can get covered. I don't want to. It's nothing against them. They're all great players. They're all great, powerful runners that can run that power game. And power running game is a scheme. It's a whole scheme now. Now it's about the zone running game, zone blocking, making sure you have athletic linemen and all this kind of stuff. And it affects fantasy too because it's kind of hard to put your finger on. Okay, he's the bell cow back for that team. Well, but with this other guy, he's going to catch the ball in the backfield. Okay, if you were a Patriots fan, you wanted to draft a Patriots player. If you like that offense, you think you can get some value out of a Patriots player. But I have James White. He had 5 points today. Oh, what happened? Oh, Deion Lewis. Well, this was last year when Deion Lewis was still on the team. Oh, Deion Lewis had the 2 touchdowns. Okay, what about Rex Burkhead? Oh, he had 1 too and 3 catches, and then or 4 or 5 catches or something like that. I'm like, oh wow, okay. But I had the other guy. So it's kind of hard to put your finger on it, and then getting to the point of this whole backup situation where it's kind of a good, I don't know, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Because you're going to have guys that are backups, but they're also going to probably be on the field mixed in on third downs, or kind of give your your running back a little bit of a breather as well. So, but there's also like prototypical teams like Le'Veon Bell has a backup who's not going to be maybe on the field as much as you think. They're going to run it with Le'Veon. Same thing, Todd Gurley. Same thing with Melvin Gordon. Same thing with probably Joe Mixon now these days in Cincinnati. Who honestly, that's the one bright spot for the Bengals. I think AJ Green should have. I don't know what his contract situation is. If he could maybe be traded to more of a contender, but the Bengals, people were like, "Oh, the Bengals are still a team." I want to check. Actually, it's really interesting. I want to look at his contract. For AJ Green, how much longer he's got on his deal. He signed a 4-year deal for $60 million. He'll be a free agent after next season. So he does actually have an out. He does have an out after this year. Potential out before in 2019. So he can, or is that a team out or a player option? Usually they're team options in the NFL. They're not really NFL. They're not player options or team options in the NFL. So so if they want to just cut him and have him be a different team, it would just cost him $3 million on the cap. So there you go, basically the signing bonus. So there you go. AJ Green could be off the Bengals by next year, but this is this year. We're talking about this year, Tom. So. You got waiver wires. That was our waiver wire tips. So now we're going to go off to these comparison stuff. And AJ Green's actually a pretty good person to start this conversation because there are a lot of comparisons to AJ Green, and he's kind of fallen off. I remember when AJ Green was a shoe-in first pick. I think I picked him first in the draft 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe the year I think I lost in the final. Because this is how it worked. I was third place, then I was second place the next year, and then I won last year. So at least I'm on a good trajectory now. We got to keep it rolling. Got to defend our title. But AJ Green, he's all of a sudden showed a temper last year. Had some very interesting and not very encouraging actions on the field last year that I'm sure he wants to forget about and get past. But he's also got a quarterback that's kind of lost his magic. I mean, the Red Rocket over there isn't really doing much for me. And Marvin Lewis, I guess he's like Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. Nothing can get him fired. And maybe another home playoff loss will do it. Just the Bengals. But it is what it is. I'll say that with them all the time. Going off the comparisons, though, AJ Green, there's other options. I mean, there's tall receivers out there who can play just as good. I mean, Amari Cooper. Even DeAndre Hopkins might not be as tall. Michael Thomas. I love Michael Thomas. The thing is, Michael Thomas has Drew Brees. It's really the easiest thing in the world. Michael Thomas and AJ Green might have the exact same physical abilities. They could jump, run as fast as each other. They have probably the same kind of hand abilities. AJ Green, maybe you probably would like him a little more because he's probably been in the league a little bit longer, so he has had the time to become a veteran and establish himself in this league. While Thomas had his 1 year, well. I could look at his rookie. I know he really broke out last year, along with the entire Saints team last year. So he's also. The thing is, actually, no, he did pretty well as a rookie too, because I think he has like the most catches young receiver since he broke in the league or something like that. So there you go. Joe, PPR machine, Michael Thomas. Good comparison. With AJ Green, I'll take Michael Thomas. That's the thing. I can keep going on. Mike Evans versus any of these guys. I mean, my kind of no receivers, like stay away from receivers this year, are AJ Green and and Mike Evans. Honestly, I mean, looking at it from last year, you got Julio Jones, the 4th pick overall last year. That's not going to happen this year. He's going to drop off a little bit. Odell Beckham was the 8th pick last year. Then it went Jordy Nelson, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, then Brandon Cooks. So that'll all get flipped around. Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas will probably, their ADP will be obviously before Nelson and Evans. I don't know what my buddy was doing picking Jordy Nelson with his 2nd pick. It's just silliness when DeAndre Hopkins is still on the board. The thing is, DeAndre Hopkins was his draft stock last year was a little bit down because we didn't know what was going to go on with the whole Deshaun Watson situation, if they were going to start him right away or if they weren't, if they're going to go with Tom Savage. Then working Deshaun Watson. Hopkins obviously has shown last year that it doesn't matter who's quarterbacking, he can still make plays. So looking at the receivers that were picked before AJ Green last year, AB, Julio, Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Jordy Nelson, Mike Evans, Des Bryant. Oh no, maybe we're going back the other way now. And Doug Baldwin. And then it was AJ Green, then Terrell Pryor, then DeAndre Hopkins, then Des Bryant. Wow, that's just what 1 year can do to a receiving scenario this year. I mean, this year we're looking at probably Julio, AB, DeAndre Hopkins probably be number 2, and then I like Michael Thomas as number 3 in the whole league. Then you can kind of put Julio and Odell together. I like Julio a little bit better because of the offense they run in, and then Brandon Cooks is right there. Corey Davis is right there. Jarvis Landry, Keenan Allen. He was picked in the 5th round last year. The 5th round. I would not mind having him in the 2nd round. If I already have my running back, I already have Todd Gurley, I would not mind having him in the 2nd round whatsoever, and you guys wouldn't mind it either. So looking at these wide receiver comparisons here, it's interesting. Amari Cooper is there. He's should have a bounce back year. Larry Fitzgerald's always there. T.Y., Demaryius Thomas, Devontae Adams. He was picked in the 7th round last year. He's going to be way up. I think his ADP is probably 2.5, so maybe like late 2nd round, early 3rd round maybe. I mean, some people might even have him late 1st round because of the fact that he's going to be the number 1 receiver for Aaron Rodgers, and number 1 receivers for Aaron Rodgers tend to do good things fantasy-wise. They're going to get their touches for sure, and they're going to be in the end zone a lot too. So I would not mind having – actually, that's the thing. If I already have Todd Gurley, I'm starting to my fantasy opponents should not listen to the show because I'm starting to figure out my draft. I'm starting to figure out my draft strategy right now as we go along this show, because if we're doing Keeper League, I already have Todd Gurley. I would be very, 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 very happy with Keenan Allen and either Michael Thomas or who else was I talking about? Who did I just say? Or Devontae Adams. I mean, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, or Michael Thomas as two of those 3 guys as my top 2 receivers, along with Todd Gurley. I would be very happy with that. Very happy with that. Obviously, Hopkins, you could throw him in there as well too. So, yeah, very happy with that. If that was the scenario went out. And honestly, I know I'm saying pass catching running backs, but you can draft them. I think the number 1 guy, obviously, okay. Maybe we'll stick. Number 1 guy pass catching running back probably will be Zeke. I mean, not Zeke. Will be Gurley, and then obviously Bell and Gurley, 1A, 1B. Don't sleep on Jerick McKinnon. I've talked about Jerick McKinnon a lot on the show. Go look at the numbers that Devonta Freeman put up before Kyle Shanahan got there, and then when Kyle Shanahan was there. That's who the comparison is. That's what Kyle Shanahan's comparing him to. McKinnon has been in the league for 4 or 5 years now, which is perfect. He's right in his prime. He's 27, 28 years old, and he's fast. He's really fast, and he's got great hands. And the only problem with me is maybe a little bit of durability issues. Needs to maybe bulk up a little bit. But the thing is that's what thing that Freeman had the size. He was big shoulder pads, big legs, big thighs, and he also was fast too. So maybe I want to see that from the Jet, which is what they call him over there. That's his nickname, the Jet, Jerick McKinnon. So there's lots of options. You can go with Saquon Barkley. Honestly, I'm saying pass catching running backs. So if I'm saying that, I can't not talk about Saquon, and we're actually going to do that on the other side of the break, and we'll go to some running backs and quarterbacks as we kind of just a little bit of a receiver talk. I know we talked about tight ends a little bit throughout the beginning of the show, but we're going to come back after the break and do some more talk on our running back comparisons and where you're going to get value. And obviously you get two of them. Most leagues have two running backs, so one pass catcher, one short yardage ground and pounder, getting in the end zone. There you go. That could make you a champion this year. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast on a Thursday today here. As we're going to finish up the show with this final segment, as that music just cuts right off, doesn't it? But every time. I say it every time on the show. I know I do. Every time it happens. But no, we're going to finish off this final segment with some comparison talk. I'll throw some quarterbacks in at the end of the show probably, but we're going to really focus on the running backs here, as I've been preaching it all day long. Pass catching running backs. As that's kind of what I think with PPR, of course. I'll get into more stuff regarding non PPR probably on Tuesday. Actually, you know what we should do? I know I talk about it too much on the show probably because I do PPR. I don't know what the percentages of leagues out there that do PPR. But it's just kind of a scenario where you can. I'm not going to give. I got to give a well-rounded scenario, but we'll do that next week. Actually, we're going to do. I'll tell you right now. Next week, I'll remember half the show is non-PPR. Other half the show we'll do IDPs. We talked about IDPs a lot on the show earlier when we were just kind of going through the beginning before training camp, through OTAs and stuff. But we'll talk about some IDPs next week, especially those who may be holding players you got to watch out for who might not be showing up to practice or at least training camp because there's a bunch like a Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald didn't show up. Did he show up? He got? Todd Gurley got paid. I don't think Donald got paid yet, right? He needs to show up, and there's a couple other guys as well. So we'll do that on Tuesday. But going back, running back comparisons, I know we talked about the fact that pass catching running backs are going to be premium, especially for PPR. Honestly, it's like, I'm not doing PPR. I can't draft Le'Veon Bell. I'm not PPR. Well, of course you can. There's just guys who are more going to catch the ball. Who are going to catch the ball more in the backfield. Zeke drops a little bit when it's PPR, so he's more of your non-PPR kind of running back because of the fact that he's going to be getting the ball a lot more handed to him than it's going to be thrown to him by Dak because Dak's going to be keeping his eyes on the field. I don't know why. If you had Zeke, I'd throw to him out of the backfield as much as I possibly could. If you're Dak Prescott, you don't have any more, no more safety blanket in Jason Witten. I don't know we'll see who the tight end is going to be for. Who is the number one tight end right now for the Dallas Cowboys? Looking at their depth chart really quick. Dallas Cowboys depth chart. it's interesting because they didn't really adjust that. They could have drafted a guy named Dallas. I forgot what his last name is, but I think he ended up getting drafted by the Eagles. They drafted Van Der Esch, the linebacker from the Boise State in the first round. The Cowboys did. But looking at their depth chart right now, who is their number one? Who's listed as their number one tight end right now? It is Jeff Swaim, and then they also have Blake Jarwin. So I don't know who that is. They drafted. It looks like Jeff Swaim was drafted in the 7th round in 2015. And Blake Jarwin was a undrafted free agent. Is that what that's telling me? I don't want to guess, but I mean maybe. So that's So kind of pull no name guys. So we don't. Yeah, Dallas. We'll figure out how their tight end's going. But that team, USA Today came out and said they're going to be 7-9. So I mean we'll see what happens with how Zeke is going to go. I mean I would never count them out really. Because of the offensive line, because of what Zeke can do, but that division is going to be very tough. But back to fantasy, actually, Zeke, you're going to have him probably, if you're not on PPR, will be much more of a premium. But all those other guys, Gurley, Bell, Hunt, Johnson, throw Saquon Barkley in there, are going to be very valuable for even non-PPR leagues, especially. But going into the comparisons, I mean, thing is, if you really want, the thing is, you don't have to get a running back first round. If you want Antonio Brown, if he's available for you, take him. If you want DeAndre Hopkins, if he's available for you, take him. I mean, I actually think that there's just too many good running backs. That's the problem. There's too many good running backs that are all going to get taken. There's about 8 of them, and they're all going to get taken in that first round. They are. And there's two other receivers who are good enough to be considered first round receivers. The other guys, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, we just talked about it, are probably going to be more in the end of the first round, early second round. That's where we're going to go receivers. It kind of split itself up. Where you're going to have Antonio Brown and Hopkins are worth picking in the first round. There's other guys, maybe not as, because you're not comparing them. Actually, when you're deciding to pick them in the first round, you're picking them over another running back. You're picking that receiver over a running back. So that's your kind of your trade-off, and you can make that trade-off. So if you pick Odell, you better not pick Odell in the first round. Please do not do that. But if you pick DeAndre Hopkins or you pick AB in the first round, don't worry. You still have a second round pick. You still have you still have Deshaun Jackson. Wow, am I messing up right here? You still have Jerick McKinnon. You still have LaShawn McCoy. There we go. Shady McCoy and Jerick McKinnon could be very, very helpful in your starting as a starting running back. And then also, I mean, you never know. Saquon could drop in your draft. Kareem Hunt could drop in your draft if somebody wants to reach him and pick a receiver. But I'm telling you right now, the first round is Bell, Gurley, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. That's 4. Bell, Gurley, that's 4 right there. If you're going to have a 10-man league, you get 6 more players. David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara, and who did I just say? Melvin Gordon. Maybe Melvin Gordon. He's actually a very good player. I love him. I think I'm missing one person. Did I miss one of the running backs? Well, that's 10. So, I mean, there's going to be guys left over. You still got Shady McCoy. You still got Jerick McKinnon. You still got Jordan Howard. You still got all those rookies, honestly, and I bet you there's 7 of them. One or two of them will be good this year, whether it's going to be Rashad Penny or Ronald Jones. I think it's going to be one of the guys that gets the top pick. But I think was it Saquon that I forgot to say? Saquon Barkley. There you go. He's ADP. His ADP is like 1.9 right now. So that's late first round, early second round. That's what his ADP is, honestly. And it's because he's going to catch the ball to the backfield. It's because they've already come out and say he's going to be a weapon for them in the passing game, and that's really, really going to shoot him up, especially in the PPR league. So obviously, we talked about that a lot. So I would take that for data. There you go, David Fizdale again. But saying if you pick those 2 running back receivers in the first round, I mean, there's great talent in the second round. If you want to go, there's no problem. It's kind of the first round now. Oh my, I got the 7th pick. Well, you just got Alvin Kamara. Sorry. Are you okay with that? Like, obviously, I'm going off ADP right now. I can't speculate as to somebody picking him in third overall or something like that because they want him really bad or something like that. Well, you got the fifth pick. Oh, you got David Johnson. Or that's where they're sitting up. I'm telling you, it's kind of 1A, 1B with Bell and Gurley. Then you're running, then ADP, then Antonio Brown, David Johnson, Alvin Kamara. I'm trying to think. Why am I blanking here? Ezekiel Elliott. Then Saquon Barkley. So, yeah, Melvin Gordon. All those guys are in there. And then you get DeAndre Hopkins name comes up not as well. So, there's all these top guys. There's plenty of them to go around. And some of them will even leak into the second round. So, this year, I would be very, 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 very happy with an 8th pick. Because I think my league's 10-man. So the 8th pick or later, 8th, 9th, 10th pick, bring it on, baby. 7th pick is okay too. Late first round pick. I want a late first round pick because I know I'm going to get a talented person in the first round no matter what. Even if I pick first, I'm going to get a talented person. If I pick first or 8th, I'm getting somebody. The key is snake draft, baby. Snake draft. You're going to get that early pick in the second round so you can go snag another receiver. Another top receiver, or you can snag Jerick McKinnon in that second round. And then, you have to wait a little. That's the problem. You do wait in between, so you're going to get late third round. That's the problem. But you're going to get late third round, early fourth round. So you're still going to get the value coming back. That's why I like picking late in the draft usually. Middle of the round too. For early in the round, and for early round picks, if I get the first or second pick, obviously you got to pick somebody. If I get the first pick this year, then I'm running with Gurley and Bell, baby. Then I'll be okay. I guess I'll be okay with that. And I guess in the second round, I'll really have to just find a receiver because that's the problem. The best position would be to be in if you were going to pick a receiver. Like if I had the third pick overall, you take AB. So you have AB and Gurley. You have a late second round pick. Jerick McKinnon's right there waiting for you. Now you got 2 receivers and you can go run and get a third round receiver. So to be your second guy. And that could be a Keenan Allen. That could be a Devontae Adams if he's still there. There's all these names out there that are going to still be available in the rounds. There's guys who T.Y. Hilton obviously is still going to be available. Will probably still be available. Obviously it's all speculatory, but it's based off of average draft position. I can't guess it to where your actual team will be going towards. You got Alshon Jeffrey still there. Brandon Cooks is still, haven't said his name in a while. Corey Davis, Doug Baldwin. There's guys all over the place. So that's what you can kind of do. I'm saying for me for a keeper league, it's a little different. If you're not doing keeper leagues, then you get that third pick. What are you going to do? You're going to take AB because obviously you think that you probably the 2 top running backs from gone. Take AB third pick, and then you would have the 7th pick in the second round. Is that how it works? Or whatever, 8th pick in the second round if you're doing a 10-man league, 8th pick in the second round. So then that's where you get Jerick McKinnon or something like that. Who's my comp to McKinnon right now? Devonta Freeman still. Yeah, you can get Devonta Freeman. Looking at this from last year, you can get, J.J. still be there. Kareem Hunt. Well, no, Kareem Hunt will go. Kareem Hunt got picked in the 5th round last year. It makes sense, actually, because he was a rookie. Dalvin Cook is going to be very good. I think he's going to be a sleepy player this year. People are going to kind of forget about him because of all these other names, and he didn't play last year. You got Kamara, who played last year, came onto the scene hot. You got Kareem Hunt. You got Saquon Barkley to pay attention to this year. Running backs, there's going to be a lot of talented running backs out there. Every time I think about it, I'm like, wow, there's another guy. Don't forget about LaShawn McCoy. For me, it's about tandems. A solid running back tandem and a solid receiving tandem is all they want, and then you can kind of fill it in from there. Like if you have Drew Brees, you have Drew Brees. You have Carson Wentz, you have Carson Wentz. You have Matt Ryan, you have Matt Ryan. It is what it is. There's a comparison between having. I'm trying to think here of somebody. There's a difference between having Ryan Tannehill and having having Deshaun Watson at his height or something like that. It is throwing the ball deep, running all over the place, healthy. Obviously, there's a difference. There's a difference between having Eli Manning and having a Aaron Rodgers. So obviously, there's differences in quarterbacks, but there is a middle point. There is a point here. 1 through 10, honestly, 1 through 10. If you want me to rank the quarterbacks, I'll go probably off a little bit of my own rankings in my head and the rankings on Fantasy Pros. They have Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Right now, it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, then Deshaun Watson, and I think 5 is Breeze, then Wentz, then 7. Why am I drawing a blank here? 7. Because it's not Matt Ryan. Cam Newton is 7. 8 is because I know 10, 11, 9 and 10 are Matthew Stafford and Ben Roethlisberger. 11 is Jimmy Garoppolo, and number 8 is Phillip Rivers, I think. So there you go. You're gonna get yardage. You're gonna get all those guys. You sling it, baby. They all sling it. 2 of them run it. So if you want to take a gamble with those are obviously there are risks involved. Obviously, taking those players. But the thing is, you can if you're in an 8-man league, then you can take those risks because you know you have the other 2 guys, those 3 other guys I just said. Then you also I didn't even say Matt Ryan. I didn't say. I'm trying to think of who I didn't say yet. Matt Ryan could be a very. I didn't even say Andrew Luck because Andrew Luck hasn't really proven himself. I didn't say. I didn't say Jared Goff, honestly, who had some really good sparks last year, honestly, around the league. So there's players out there. So that'll wrap it up for the show today. We'll come out and come back on Tuesday, and I promise we'll do the non-PPR and we'll do. The IDP stuff, we'll talk a lot of defense on Tuesday as well. So everybody have a good weekend, and we'll be back on Tuesday. Talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.